state relations in India. And the last one is about democratic decentralization. In that chapter, we have two important constitutional amendment acts are there. One is 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act about Panchayat Raj institutions, and second one is about 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. It's about municipalities. So the both acts are important for us. And now we are discuss about some regional identities and regionalism in India especially. So if you see, regionalism is a simply in simple words, it's an expression of common state of identity or common area or purpose, particularly purpose by people within a specific geographical area or region, uh, united by its unique language or culture, etc. So, in a positive sense, it encourages people to develop a sense of brotherhood in nature and oneness which seeks to protect interests of a particular region and promotes the welfare and development. So, in the negative sense, it implies excessive attachment to one's region, which is greater threat to the unity and integrity of the India. So, if you see the major regional issues in India, there are several issues are there. If you see basis of language basis, because India is a diverse country, so there is several uh, issues are there, and various languages, cultures, and almost even different types of castes also there, because caste system is strong here, and religion also one of the important factor in the Indian society, and majorly region is an important here. So on the basis of geography, culture, and language, region is interpreted. So if we see the reasons for this regional identity or regional politics, especially in political scenario, for many centuries, India remained the land of many regions, cultures, ethnic groups, communities, religions, and traditions. So, regional identity has become a potent force in Indian politics ever since independence. So, it has remained the main basis of many regional political parties which have governed many states since the last late 1960s. So, if you see, the major regional issues are majorly in recent times, we have seen even anti-migrant sentiments being exhibited in the states such as Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Karnataka. Many states has also implemented laws to curb employment opportunities for people outside the given state. So this is yet again a failure of governance. It is a government's duty to increase employment opportunities for all citizens. So some states have genuine issues related to their economic development, and their actions of reserving jobs for the local population may be justified. So if you see, states such as Sikkim and certain other northeast states and Ladakh have put in place such mechanisms, and larger and more advanced states such as Karnataka and Maharashtra cannot justify their reasons and actions. So we see this is in the form of anti-North Indian sentiments in Maharashtra and few South Indian states. So there are also issues based on interstate disputes between Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. So uh, uh, if you see the factors which are responsible for promoting regionalism, majorly India is a country with a wide diversity and plurality. As we said, no other country in the world had existed with a broad unity, peace, and tolerance as India does. Even we have different types of languages, regions, geographical regions, and tropical atmosphere also different from area to area, and also and also we have uh, we are maintaining the unity in the diversity of India. Praised by many countries around the world. So, despite this unity, there are sources of regional conflict. So, if you see, majorly geographical factors are the major important source for this regional conflict. So, if you see, our India has a very diverse geographical landmass. As a result of geographical differences, there is a huge variation in climate also. So, these differences in climate cause changes in lifestyle and food habits. For example, North India is very cold during winter and very hot during summer. This is not the case in South India, which is hot and humid all throughout the year. So the people's clothing and lifestyle are varied due to this fact. So people belonging to the hilly region of the Himalayas have adapted themselves to high altitude and cold conditions. So if you see people living in forests, for example, tribes depend on them for only food, shelter, and other needs. They have a lifestyle that is significantly different from the rest of the population because they are away from the modernity and modern culture. So, and also internal colonialism also important factor here. Despite being rich in natural resources, some regions remain economically underdeveloped. So this is one of the important factor. If you see the historical factors during the ancient phase of history, it was only during the time of Ashoka's rule India became a single political entity. In other phases, India was largely ruled by regional kingdoms, for example, Cholas and Pandyas of South India and Satavahanas Andhra. So during medieval India, India was ruled by kings who belonged to various sections of Islam. So it was only during Akbar's rule India again became united. Even though his rule had a central government like character, there were numerous governors who ruled the smaller provinces and had their own autonomy and culture. For example, the Rajputs. So India again becomes politically united during British rule. British, however, due to their policy of divide and rule, encouraged the regional differences. So they gave autonomy and concessions to numerous princely states. So they fought wars by using one king against another. For example, Carnatic wars. This prevented the formation of a unified country. So, and also a linguistic factor is also important here. India has 22 official languages that are recognized by the Constitution of India, but there are around 1635 mother tongues as per the 2001 census. So there are 29 languages with more than 10 lakh native speakers. So the mother tongue of a person creates a profound attachment to his own language, and hence the identity of belonging also develops. So the change of names of Bombay to Mumbai, Bangalore to Bangalore, Madras to Chennai shows the affinity of people towards their language. So this linguistic unity has been a major factor in the formation of states during post-independent India. So apart from emotional attachment, it also created ease in communication for day-to-day activities. So religious factors are also important for this regionalism because regionalism in India also has a religious dimension because India was united with Pakistan before its independence. The difference based on religion has led to the creation of Pakistan. So The violent demand for an independent country of Khalistan in the 1980s was based on the Sikh religion. So this is one of the important factors. And if you see the political factors, India's politics and its political parties showcase the regionalism present in our country. They are broadly divided into national parties, regional parties. So national parties have a stronghold in many states. They work based on an all India agenda. For example, the Congress, Bharatiya Janata Party, etc. So in many times, the national parties like BJP and Congress are not able to get a stronghold in many states due to the predominance of regional parties. So regional parties are mostly confined in a to a single state. They work based on the interest of the state. If you see, for example, in Telangana, TRS, uh, Telugu Desam Party, or YSR Congress in Andhra Pradesh, so Trinamool Congress in West Bengal, and Shiva Sena in Maharashtra are the examples of these issues. So the political aspirations of leaders remains a major source of regionalism. For example, regional political parties have used the regional and linguistic identities to secure votes. So they have created an imaginary threat from outsiders and promised their vote bank for securing their land for themselves and to eliminate outsiders. So here, regional parties and fringe elements in various states have campaigned for their agenda. And also economic factors also important. Economic factors also contribute to the development of regionalism. For example, some states and regions are better in terms of development like infrastructure, healthcare, job opportunities, etc. So these economic factors cause problems between regions. For example, the formation of states like Jharkhand and Telangana were based on a lack of development only. So the problem of Naxalism has its roots in the economic deprivation of people belonging to this region. And ethnic factors also impacting this regionalism issue. India has many ethnic differences. This has been proven by anthropological research. India is a home to as many as 645 scheduled tribes as recognized by the constitution. So these ethnic differences formed the base for demands for political autonomy and succession. So, for example, the Nagas of Nagaland are demanding a nation based on their ethnic identity. Some demands have taken the form of violent armed struggle with established governments. All these factors pose a threat to India's unity. If we see the impact of regionalism in India in positive sense, regional recognition in terms of statehood or state autonomy gives self-determination to the people of that particular region, and they feel empowered and happy. Internal self-determination of community, whether linguistic, tribal, religious, regional, or their combinations, have remained the predominant form in which regionalism in India has sought to express itself historically as well as at present time. So, so we have seen how regionalism could be good or bad for a nation as well as for a group of nations. So, so the Constitution of India under Article 19 gives every citizen a fundamental right to move around and settled down peacefully in any part of the country. And as a citizen of India, everyone should respect this fundamental right of every person. So the need of the hour is to develop each region of India, though development and devolution of power to local governments and empowering people for their participation in decision making process. So the governments at the state level need to find out the alternative resources of energy and source of employment for local people, use of technology in governance, planning and agriculture development, and also introducing a system of national education that would help people to overcome regional feelings and develop an attachment towards the nation, can act as a long-term solution to the problem of subnationalism. While the National Integration Council was set up in the 1961, there is need to utilize its potential more effectively. And schemes like Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat have been launched by the government of India to celebrate unity in the diverse culture of the nation and to strengthen sentiment of national unity between the citizens of the states. So national unity is not impaired if the people of a region have genuine pride in their language and culture. So unity in diversity ethos needs to preserved for the pluralistic character of the Indian nation state system. So the accommodation of multiple aspirations of diverse populations is necessary. So this is one of the important factor. If we see the movements in South India on the basis of regionalism, so in 1940s, Dravida movement or non-Brahmin movement started by the in the present day of Tamil Nadu, and later the movement resulted demand of separate and independent Tamil state. In 1950s and 60s, India witnessed mass mobilization for the demands of statehood. So in Andhra also, Potti Sriramulu spearheaded the revolt of the separate state of Andhra in 1954. His eventual death triggered the wave of political regionalism in India, and also establishment of states reorganization committee, revolts for separate states are all across India resulted in the formation of SRC headed by Fazal Ali. So it recommended reorganization of Indian states on linguistic lines, thus reinforcing the regionalistic tendencies. With the enactment of States Reorganizations Act 1956, linguistic states become a reality. So if we see the major changes in the 21st century, the decade of 2000s witnessed vigorous movements for the creation of separate states due to rising sense of regional deprivation. So it resulted in the formation of the three new states, Chhattisgarh out of Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand out of Bihar, and Uttarakhand out of Uttar Pradesh. In 2014, the state of Telangana was created by the division of Andhra Pradesh. So more recently, although not a linguistic basis, the state of Jammu Kashmir was bifurcated into two union territories, Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh, via Jammu Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019. At present, India has 28 states and 8 union territories. So this is also one of the example for this regionalism, and also separatism. Separatism also important for this regionalism context. It is a demand for separate statehood within the Indian Union. Many times, linguistic or ethnic minorities within the states come together and unite against the majority community in the state. So, formation of Uttarakhand, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Telangana are examples of separatism. So, other similar demands that have been in news include creation of Bodoland for the Bodo speakers of in Assam, and Gurkha land for ethnic Gurkha Nepali people in West Bengal, and a Bundelkhand state covering part of Madhya Pradesh and part of Uttar Pradesh for promoting the development of the region. And even demand for full statehood, the union territories have been forwarding such demands like the National Capital Territory of Delhi. So if you see the causes for growing regionalism, historical and geographical isolation, insider outsider complex, that naturals, nativism, and son of the soil ideology. So uneven development, continuous neglect of a region, and internal colonialism. Despite being rich in natural resources, some regions remain economically underdeveloped is one of the cause for growing this regionalism. So imposition of an ideology that might be uh, in conflict with the ideology that people of that particular uh, have been possessing for a long time. And also linguistic aspirations and expression of ethnicity have long remained a formidable basis of regionalism. Uh, if you see the what can be the impacts of this regionalism on Indian polity, positive regionalism results in the rise of regional parties, which is advantageous from the perspective of democracy. The people of a region are more likely to put their faith in a person who is a native to their region or a party. Also, regionalism often attracts the focus of policymakers on the underlying regional issues. A broader regional lens allows better planning. And also, if we see the difference between nationalism and regionalism in simple words, nationalism is a sense of belonging to the nation, one nation, a feeling one shares with all the citizens of the country, regardless of their caste, creed, culture, region, and religion. When regionalism, when people begin identifying more strongly with their region than with their nation, it is alleged that nationalism is undercut by a sense of regionalism. So regionalism glorifies the heritage of only one particular region and of one culture. So this may lead to the formation of multiple communities within one nation. So even unity in diversity is needs to be preserved for the pluralistic character of an Indian nation state system. So the accommodation of multiple aspirations of diverse population of it is necessary. So formation of Niti Aayog has been a positive step to enhance cooperative federalism by fostering the involvement of state governments of India in the economic policy making process using a bottom to up approach. So introducing a system of national education that would help people to overcome regional feelings and develop an attachment towards the nation. So therefore, in principle, regionalism need to be regarded as an unhealthy or anti-national phenomenon unless it takes a militant, aggressive turn to the encourage the growth of secessionist tendencies. So, if we see the formation of Telangana state is one of the best example for this regionalism because of underdevelopment and the proper allocation of funds are not there during the joint state. So that's what the formation of Telangana is resulted many changes. So there had been several movements to revoke the merger of Telangana and Andhra, major ones occurring in 1969, 1972, and 2009. So the movement for a new state of Telangana gained momentum in 21st century by an initiative of the Telangana Political Joint Action Committee, including political leadership representing the Telangana area. So on 9th December 2009, the government of India announced the process of formation of the Telangana state. Then violent protests led by people in the coastal Andhra and Rayalaseema regions occurred immediately after the announcement, and the decision was put on hold on 23rd December of 2009. So this movement continued in Hyderabad and other districts of Telangana, there have been hundreds of claimed suicides, strikes, protests, and disturbances to public life demanding separate statehood. So, the region of Telangana was part of erstwhile Hyderabad state ruled by the Nizam. In 1955, the state's reorganization committee recommended the retention of Hyderabad as a separate state. This recommendation was, however, not taken. The people of Telangana protested that the region was more backward than the coastal regions of Andhra, and also alleged that there were injustices in the distribution of budget allocation, employment, opportunity, and water also. So on 1st November 1956, Telangana was merged with the state of Andhra Pradesh, uniting all Telugu-speaking people. So this movement for Telangana continued in the region. There were Jai Telangana and Jai Andhra movements. So there were violent agitations as well as particularly in 1969 and 1972, in which many people were killed in police firing. So after the 1969 agitation, then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi gave the 6-point formula for the fast-phased development of backward areas and the for preferential treatment of local candidates for employment. So in 1997, the BJP supported the formation of a separate state. In 2001, K. Chandrasekhar Rao formed Telangana Rashtra Samiti party to revive the movement. So in the various elections held in the state of Andhra Pradesh, the people voted for TRS and gave a public impetus to the movement. In 2009, there was huge boost to the movement when KCR or K. Chandrasekhar Rao went on a hunger strike for separate Telangana, reminding people of the hunger strike and ultimately death of even death of Polti Sriramulu, who agitated for the state of Andhra during 1901. So many young people also committed suicide for the movement. In 2010, the Sri Krishna Committee was appointed to bring about permanent solution to this issue. So the committee stated in its report that efforts must be made to bring about equitable development to the three regions of state of Andhra Pradesh, and it recommended a united Andhra Pradesh. However, owing the pressure, the Union Cabinet approved a bill for the bifurcation of the state. So the Andhra Pradesh reorganization bill was passed in 2014. Hyderabad was suggested as a common capital. It will remain so far not more than 10 years, after which it will be the capital of Telangana alone, and Andhra Pradesh would get a new capital. So the new state of Telangana was formed on 2nd June of 2014. So it's a big best example for this regionalism concept. So we have syllabus about center-state relations in India is one of another topic. So if you see, so we have important center-state relations. We'll discuss about some administrative relations, legislative relations, and financial relations, and emergency provisions and center-state relations. If you see the major center-state relations, the Indian Constitution having federal system divides all legislative, executive, and financial powers between the center and the states. However, because the Constitution established the unified judicial system to uphold both federal and state laws, there is no division of powers in the judiciary. So even though the federal government and the states are leaders in their own fields, for the federal system to work effectively, there must be a greatest possible concord and cooperation between them. If we see the center-state relations, all legislative, executive, and financial powers are divided between the center and the states according to the Indian Constitution in the context of center-state relations. So there are majorly three types of relations or relationships involved in the center-state relations. One is legislative relations, second one is administrative, and third one is financial. If you see the legislative relations from Article 245 to 255 of the Constitution deals with the legislative relations between the center and states. Indian Constitution also divides the legislative power between the center and states with respect to both territories and the subjects of legislation. So there are four aspects for the legislative relationships between the union and the states. So one is about territorial extent of center and state legislation, and another one is distributive or distribution of legislative subjects. It is important here. The subjects are divided into three divisions. One is union list, and the second one is state list, and last one is concurrent list. So Parliament is the exclusive authority when it comes to the union list. In most cases, the state legislature alone has the power to pass legislation pertaining to the things on the state list. The state and federal governments can both pass the laws on the subjects mentioned in the concurrent list. So, the power to make laws with respect to residual subjects is vested in the parliament. So, parliamentary legislation in the state field in case of emergency situations. So the constitution permits parliament to enact laws on any topic included in the state list when some exceptional circumstances. So when a state makes a request to the parliament, and when implement international agreements, or when president's rule is imposed in a state, the parliament becomes empowered to make laws with respect to any matter in the state list. So then center's control over state legislation will be passed by that president's rule. According to the constitution, this federal government is authorized to exercise the following influence over these state legislative affairs. So some bills on specified subjects listed in the state list can only be filed in the state legislature with the president's prior consent, and specific laws established by the state legislature may be set aside by the governor for presidential consideration, and the president may ask a state to lay aside money bills and other financial bills for his consideration in the case of financial emergency. This is all about legislative relations between center and states. If you see the administrative relations, the distribution of legislative authority has resulted in a shared co-executive branch between the federal government and state government. From Article 256 to 263 of the Constitution deals with the administrative relation between the center and states. So in this administrative relations, the distribution of executive powers according to Constitution of India. So the center's power encompasses the entire nation when it comes to matters over which it has exclusive jurisdiction. So the subjects listed in the state list fall under the state's purview. The states have to execute authority in matters involving the concurrent list. A state executive power may not be interfered with or affected in any way. So, center's direction to the states when in center-state relations, the construction and maintenance of communication systems deemed to be of national or military importance by the government, actions to be taken to guarantee the state's railways are safe. So, the creation of and execution of specific initiatives for the STs welfare in the various states. So at that time also, the center's role will be important, and based on subjects, some central officer, some union officials will execute laws on the subject listed in the union list. Sometimes mutual delegation of functions will be there. The executive functions are shared between the central government and the states. So the state governments may approve the federal governments carrying out these duties. So with the federal government's consent, the governor may transfer the union to the state's executive functions. This delegation of authority can be conditional or unconditional. So the state may provide the union executive authority without the state's approval under the terms of the constitution. However, parliament, not the president, is the body that creates such delegations. So any dispute or complaint affecting the management of this cooperation between union and states, the use of some cases like use of water resources in interstate rivers and river valleys may be decided by the parliament only. So the president has the authority to call a meeting of the interstate council to discuss issues of mutual interest to the center and states. So some sorts of actions will be taken by the union government, the federal government's public actions, and documents and judicial procedures, and each state must be given complete faith and credit by all of India. So Parliament has the power to appoint the relevant agencies to carry out the constitutional duties relating to interstate trade, commerce, and intercourse. So if you see the some sorts of laws can be made by the center on a state list under some conditions. If Rajya Sabha passes a resolution, 2/3 of the members present and voting, according to the Article 249, the center can make laws on the state list. In case of national emergency, Article 352, at the time also the union can make laws on state list. In case of if two or more states request parliament to make laws on subjects of state list, according to 252 article, the center can make laws on a state list. And in case of in terms of international agreement or treaty, the union government can make laws on state list. If president rule prevails in any state at that time also, the central government can make laws on state list. So overall, the center's control over the state legislation in these situations. So the particular situations when it comes to the matter, the union government can make any changes or any laws for the state needs. So there are several commissions also established for these review the center-state relations. One is Administrative Reforms Commission. In 1996, the central government appointed this 6-member commission under the chairmanship of Morarji Desai. It recommended setting up an interstate council, the appointment of persons with non-partisan attitude as governors, devolution of maximum powers to the state, transferring more financial resources to states. Then central government did not take any action on these recommendations. Another one is Rajmannar Committee. In 1969, the DMK government in Tamil Nadu appointed a 3-member committee under the chairmanship of Dr. P.V. Rajmannar. to examine the entire question of center-state relations. Among other things, it recommended immediate setting up of an interstate council and use of Article 356 only in rare cases of complete breakdown of law and order in the state and vesting of residuary power of the taxation with states. Then union government did not take any action on these recommendations. And Sarkaria Commission also important in this issue. In 1983, the Congress government at the center appointed a three-member commission on center-state relations under the chairmanship of Justice Ranjit Singh Sarkaria. This commission did not suggest any changes in the existing constitutional power division agreement. It, however, suggested cooperative federalism. Some of the recommendations have been adopted as governor to be from the outside the state. So setting up of interstate council. And in recent times, Poonchi Commission also is one of the important here. In 2007, the UPA government at center set up a commission under the chairmanship of Justice Madan Mohan Poonchi. In 2010, the commission made 273 recommendations in its 7-volume report. Major among them are amendment of Article 355, 356, and Communal Violence Bill, and also setting up of National Integration Council, prior consultation of states by center while lawmaking on concurrent list items, the concerned states saying appointment and removal of governor, and stop appointing governors as chancellors of universities. So the deliberations on all recommendations were completed recently in the Interstate Council. So this is all about center-state relations. So we have one more topic is about democratic decentralization, which is covered both 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. So democratic decentralization is important here. So the 73rd Amendment is about the rural self-governments, and so especially this democratic decentralization concept, it has been almost 30 years since these 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts were passed to facilitate democratic decentralization in India. But very little and actual progress has been made in this direction. So So this democratic decentralization is the process of devolving the functions and resources of the state from the center to the elected representatives at the lower levels so as to facilitate greater direct participation of citizens in governance. So it implies that precisely defined governance functions are formally assigned by law to the local governments, backed by adequate transfer of the basket of financial grants and tax handles, and they are given staff so that they have the necessary wherewithal to carry out their responsibilities. So if you see the related constitutional provisions, local government, including panchayats, is a state subject in the constitution, and consequently the devolution of power and authority to the panchayats has been left to the discretion of state. So the constitution mandates the panchayats and municipalities shall be elected every 5 years and enjoins states to devolve functions and responsibility to them through a law. So the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts, by constitutionally establishing Panchayat Raj institutions in India, mandated the establishment of panchayats and municipalities as elected local governments. So these constitutional amendments added two new parts to the constitution, namely Part 9 titled the Panchayats and Part 9A titled the Municipalities. The 11th schedule contains the powers and authority and responsibilities of panchayats, and 12th schedule contains the powers, authority, responsibilities of municipalities. So here Article 40 says organization of a village panchayat. So if you see the major achievements of the local bodies, the proportion of elected women representatives has been steadily rising since the enactment of 73rd Amendment Act. Currently, India has 2,60,512 panchayats with 3.1 million elected representatives, of which 1.3 million are women. So while there are merely 7 to 8% representation in parliament and state assemblies for women, and outstanding 49% of elected local representatives in states like Odisha, it has crossed 50% are women. So these two amendment acts has created healthy competition among various states regarding devolution. So for instance, Kerala has devolved 29 of its functions to the panchayat. Rajasthan took the inspiration from Kerala to devolve many key departments such as health, education, women, and agriculture to the Panchayat Raj institutions. So here, this devolution means precisely defined governance functions are formally assigned by law to local governments. So some issues are there with these local governments in India. Insufficient funding is there. Infrastructural challenges also facing both the municipalities and panchayats. Some of gram panchayatis do not have their own building also. They share space with schools, Anganwadi centers, or other places. Some of have their own building without basic facilities like toilets, drinking water, and electricity connection. While the GPs, the Gram Panchayats have internet connections, they are not functional in many cases. So lack of staff also important here. So local government do not have the staff to perform even basis tasks, and states often postpone the elections and violate the constitutional mandate of 5 yearly elections to the local governments, and local governments are merely acting as an implementation machinery rather than a policy making body. So so this self-government is a best government for the grassroots level administration. So it is started before British also. Even in British regime, village panchayat also there. But after entering the Britishers, village panchayats lost their autonomy and became weak. So uh, so when many amendments and many suggestions are there to create these municipalities and panchayat raj institutions. So as a result of this scheme of democratic decentralization, so these two amendment acts are created for the sake of this establishment of both municipalities and panchayat raj institutions. So if you see the salient features of the 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment acts, these amendments added two new parts, as we said, part 9 and part 9A. So basic units of democratic system Grama Sabhas are villages and ward committees in municipalities comprising all the adult members registered as voters. So three-tier system of panchayat at village, intermediate, block or taluk or mandal level, and district level except the states with population is below 20 lakhs. So seats at all levels to be filled by direct election only. Seats reserved for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, and the chairpersons of the panchayats at the all levels also shall be reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes in proportion to their population. So one third of total number of seats to be reserved for women, one third of seats reserved for SCs and STs also reserved for women, and one third offices of chairpersons also at all levels reserved for women. So here uniform 5-year term and elections constitute new bodies to be completed before the expiry of the term. So in the event of dissolution, elections compulsory within 6 months. Independent election commission in each state for direction and control of the electoral rolls. So panchayats to prepare plans for economic development and social justice in respect of subjects as devolved in the by the law to the various levels of panchayats, including subjects as illustrated in the 11th schedule. So if you see these subjects which are included in the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. So majorly 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, it contains articles from 243 to 243O. For municipalities or 74th Amendment Act, it contains articles from 243P to 243Z G. So so some challenges are also associated with this Panchayat Raj institution because lack of effective devolution, insufficient grants, funds, issue of sarpanch pati. So because here on Panchayat Raj Day in 2015, the Prime Minister called for an end to sarpanch pati culture because it is still very much prevalent in the society, mainly due to the gender biases, women illiteracy, and patriarchal society. And also infrastructural challenges also there. Some of GPs do not have their own building, so lack of supporting staff, lack of convergence of various government programs. So the recommendations of sixth report and second administrative reforms commission can be implemented for a better and effective functioning of Panchayat Raj institutions. So the need of the hour is to bring out about holistic change in the lives of beneficiaries among the villagers, and the government should take remedial action in the interest of democracy, social inclusion, and cooperative federalism. So it is important to have clarity in the assignment of functions, and the local government should have clear and independent sources of finance also. It is very relevant to the better implementation of these both 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts. So there is need of clear implementation as per the Constitution of India. So panchayats should also be encouraged to carry out local audits regularly so that finance commission grants are not delayed. So the funding issue will be resolved. So devise a compensation, a comprehensive mechanism for taxation at local levels also important to remove corruption and sometimes local governments are merely acting as implementation machinery rather than a policy making body for local government. So this is the major initiatives created by the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. So both acts are laid down a three-tier system that shall comprise to be in Panchayat Raj and in municipalities also. In municipalities, Nagar Panchayat, Municipal Council and Municipal Corporation. These three types of municipalities are there in every state. So it gives provisions for establishing these three municipalities. So it is about 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. So majorly this so these majorly local governments are very much essential for the success of democracy. So equal of importance should be given to all sections of the people in the organization and maintenance of local government institutions. So people belonging to the weaker sections of society should be given in special attention. So all the voters in the villages must be enlightened regarding importance of Grama Sabha meetings. So citizens cooperation is very much essential for the success of local governments. So all-round development of all the people can take place in the dreams of Mahatma Gandhi will bear the fruits only when the local governments work effectively. Therefore, the union and state governments, the non-governmental organization, and all the responsible citizens must extend their full support and cooperation for the success of local governments. So this is all about local governments or democratic decentralization. So for today's class, this is about our syllabus. So thank you for your participation. I wish you all the best for your exams. Thank you for participation. I am concluding the session. Thank you.